Come on. And
Coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
what is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Fantasy Coaches. I am your host, as always, Coach Steve, guys. We have another fantastic episode for you guys today. But before we get into that, let's introduce the crew we have with us today. Of course, I got Coach Shibs here. What's going on, Coach Shibs?
Ain't much, man. Just another beautiful weekend, and I'm here to talk about these players today. I'm getting hyped.
Absolutely. Congratulations on your Man City win this weekend.
Oh, yes,
You were thrilled about that.
Cried.
That's what I heard. So, of course, Coach John could not be with us today. He had some other arrangements he had to take, but have no fear. We have our guest today's show, Troy King. Welcome to the show, my friend, fellow Dolphins and Heat friend. So what's going on?
Nothing much, man. I need to add Coach to my first name too. You know, I gotta be Coach Troy or something. I can fit in with y'all. But no, man, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. It's always so much fun, you know, rocking with y'all. And we have a lot of good things to talk about. So I'm very excited about today's show.
Absolutely. We have a lot to go through today, guys. We are doing a last chance players, basically players that we're kind of on the last straw with in terms of owning, drafting, what have you. You know, this is like, you know, there's potential there, but if you don't do it this year, it's like I don't want to touch you anymore after this season here. So that's kind of where we're at with some of these players we'll talk about today. But before we get to that, we're going to get into some news. Obviously, over the last, I think it was like last Thursday or Friday, the Minnesota Vikings had officially released Dalvin Cook. Now he is a free agent, can go wherever he chooses to. It's no longer a possibility of a trade. He is officially off the team. How do you guys feel about Dalvin Cook as a player now? Is he kind of like he might not be considered a last chance player, but maybe he is someone that you're less likely to want to draft now, depending on where he goes? How do you guys feel about Dalvin Cook right now?
Gibbs, you want to go first?
I'm just gonna wait and see on Dalvin Cook. Like, obviously, he's a phenomenal player. He has been the last 5-6 years he's been in the league. I know he's not going to be worth that like early round 1 pick or round 2 pick that we've been historically drafting him at the last couple of years. But like say, if he goes to the Dolphins, like I wouldn't be like opposed to picking him up. I don't know what round, but you still have like plenty of pieces over there. So like it all depends on where he goes. If it's a high octane offense, I'll still be into him. But like it's grass may not be greener though. He was a guy there and he could be sharing it. All I know, but he's still in the play for me and Alexander Madison too.
Yeah, I would say for me in terms of Dalvin Cook. So for the Dolphins, that seems to be the favorite place to go as a Dolphins fan. I am excited about that. The thing about it, though, is I don't know if he's going to be used as a workhorse. He doesn't necessarily need to be used as a workhorse if he goes to the Dolphins, because you still have Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, you have Devin Akane. And then I don't know if they're going to keep all those guys if they do sign Dalvin, but also, look, it might be smart to have him maybe as part of a committee. But the problem is that he wants a lot of money. So I don't know if the Dolphins are willing to pay him that much money. And it seems like the teams that are most interested in him, like they have running backs that they already have on the team. Like we've heard the Bills being rumored. There's been some talks maybe about the Jets. There's been talks about like, you know, the Cowboys. So every team that's been rumored to get Dalvin, or the Broncos, like, you know, Javonte Williams. So Dalvin's going to hurt somebody's fantasy value. So it's like, I just don't know if he's going to be utilized exactly like he was with the Vikings. But I mean, he's still going to be, you know, a very solid running back, solid fantasy running back. But I'm skeptical about, I feel like for real football, no matter where he goes, it's going to be good. But fantasy wise, I'm curious how it's going to not only impact him, but the other running backs that are on these teams.
Yeah, you guys made a lot of sense there. There's not a lot of places that he could really go outside of being back in Minnesota that like makes a ton of sense. I know someone said that the Bengals should drop Joe Mixon and then re-sign Dalvin Cook. Wow. That would be interesting. But it makes sense that I think he wants to get more than like the $5 million that, you know, that's out there for him. He wants to get paid a little bit more, which is going to be really hard because he's a running back. So not many people are going to want to spend big on running backs. Again, right now, we'll know more about redraft season exactly when we get there in August, exactly what team hopefully he'll be on at that point. But in terms of like a dynasty or anything like that, a guy that his value is shot down dramatically. He doesn't no longer as a long-term player on a team that you would want. He's probably going to be one of those players that sign one-year deals moving forward. And if you have him on your team, hold on to him, wait to see what happens. If you're a contending team, if you want to throw a late second-round pick at him, see what happens, see where he lands, it's a better time to do it because if he gets a little bump, if he goes to Miami, people are going to hype that up really quickly. I really can't see too many places where he could go to be a few workhorse at this point. I mean, Miami might be the only one that he might have that small opportunity, but anywhere else, it's going to be a heavy backfield. So definitely not great for Dalvin Cook's value, but there is someone who greatly benefits from Dalvin Cook being released, and it's been the long-time elite backup that everyone seemed to want to have in fantasy for years now, Alexander Mattison. And we've seen glimpses of Mattison be a workhorse type of running back, and we enjoyed that when he got that opportunity. Everyone was always like, you got to pick, if you're taking Dalvin Cook, you got to pick Alexander Mattison in the 8th or 9th round. You got to hold on to that elite backup value. And at times in his career, he has proven so, but other times he's been less than mediocre. How do you guys feel about Dalvin Cook's value going into 2023 right now?
So with Alexander Mattison, I think that I'm excited because, like you said, anytime the Dalvin Cooks went down, Alexander Mattison has proven, put up RB1 numbers. He's been solid, but we haven't seen him do it for a whole season, right? And I think sometimes what happens is that, everyone looks good in small sample sizes, but through a whole year, could he possibly stay healthy? Could he put up consistent numbers throughout an entire season, 17-game season? And that's something we haven't seen yet. It's very, I don't blame anybody for getting excited. I'm excited too. But one of the other things we need to consider is that last year, the Vikings went very pass heavy compared to any other year. It's like the most pass heavy year that we've in recent memory for the Vikings. So that's another element that we need to think about. So I don't think necessarily like Alexander Mattison is going to get more rushing volume than Dalvin Cook got last year. And Dalvin Cook was about RB 15 on points per game basis. So I think Alexander Mattison most likely is going to fall in that kind of territory. And then maybe Ty Chandler gets some run too, but I'm definitely excited for the opportunity that Alexander Mattison has, but I also want to be, realistic to think like, hey, maybe he's not going to be a top 10 running back with this opportunity just because of the way the offense is, and we just haven't seen him do it for a full season.
I agree with Troy on the passing prowess of the Minnesota Vikings. They added Jordan Addison. Madison's going to be a good player. He's going to be someone I'm going to keep my eyes on in round 3, round 4, and majority of these drafts upcoming. So he could be a perfect guy to snag. If you start off wide receiver heavy, or you got Travis Kelce and some stud pieces. So I like him, and kudos to him, and hopefully he could stay healthy and get the gig he deserves.
Yeah, I'm very torn on Alexander Mattison, even though I have him in all my dynasty leagues. I'm very torn on him going as a full-time starter. I liked him as a depth piece backup that you can plug and play when you needed to if Cook got hurt. But if you look at the games that Alexander Mattison had played, he played in 6 games that he started over his career. 3 of them were against the Lions, who we all have known has been a team that you could run all over. And one of them was Seattle, I think 2 years ago, where they were the terrible run defense. Again, I don't want to put all that as my determining factor or anything like that, but it's something to point out there that he did do very well against very, very bad run defenses. In the other two games he started, he only averaged about 50 all-purpose yards in 2 other games that weren't bottom run defenses. So that's something to keep your mind on there. And another thing is people have to understand he's not going to be like Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook was explosive. I mean, he's someone who can break big yard runs. Alexander Mattison, over his career, he has just 9 runs over 20-plus yards. That's something to keep in mind, that he's probably not going to be a guy that's going to see big, giant plays every week, but he's going to be a grinder up the middle of the field, taking those hard hits. He's probably going to be someone who has potential to maybe see 10 touchdowns, but don't expect 1,300 yards probably. I mean, that's all I'm saying. I mean, he's definitely someone that I would consider if he fell maybe to the 5th round. He might go earlier because of the hype. Again, I think he's an RB low end, mid to low end RB2 right now for me. There's potential there, but I wouldn't advise reaching too heavy in the early mid third round, that dead zone round, because I think you might be disappointed in the outcome that he does produce. So that's kind of how I feel about him. In terms of like a dynasty, would you be selling off on him right now? Or would you guys think is a fair enough trade to either sell or buy Madison right now?
Jibs, you could go.
In your case, I'll be selling the world, man. You've been holding it down.
So, I mean, I can't tell you. I've only sold one share so far. And it is hard because I think a lot of people are slightly concerned. I mean, that just based on the conversations I've had with one league where I did sell him. I did sell him for more than likely the 201 in the 2024 draft and a mid to late second round pick. Two second round picks. The one is probably the 201. The other one's like a mid to late. How do you guys feel about a trade like that? Would you accept a trade like that?
Can you repeat it again? The exact trade again?
So 2 second round picks in next year's draft of 2024. More than likely, it's going to be the 201 and then a later round second pick.
I mean, the next year's drafts class is going to be loaded. I think it depends also if you're a contender or if you're like kind of more in rebuild mode. If you're in rebuild mode, I'm absolutely doing that trade. If I'm trying to contend this year, I feel like it's a fair trade, but I think I would lean more towards Alexander Madison because we know, again, he's going to get the first crack of opportunities. Even though we have our doubts, I might keep him. If I'm trying to compete for a title this year, if I have that squad, then I think I'll do that.
Jibs, how do you feel about it?
I don't mind it at all. Well, he wasn't worth that a month ago.
That is true. I was getting like third round offers in the 23 drafts. I'm like, come on, no, I'm waiting.
No, you ain't doing that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for sure. So, so Madison, again, there's opportunity there for sure. We'll see what happens. If you guys had to pick someone to pick up on waivers, I guess obviously this is Dynasty right now. Ty Chandler, Dwayne McBride. You got to pick one.
Oh, Ty Chandler. I mean, they're both. I mean, Ty Chandler, he's also a late guy, but I feel like Ty Chandler's been in the offense. Dwayne McBride, he wasn't known for he's a guy. He's just a guy. I don't think there's anything that stands out to him. He's a 7th round pick. Just give me the guy who's already been in the system. And they brought Ty Chandler. You know, he's still on the team, so give me Ty Chandler.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Ty Chandler will get himself on the field because of his ability to block. So just keep that in mind. I think at this point he should be off. Most of these guys are at this point now off your waivers. But if you have some slaggers out there, that pick them up right now. So in terms of the news, Troy said catch more passes than McBride.
It's true.
It's really true. 5 in his career.
Day. Shout out to him, my guy.
All right. So before we get to our main topic, real quick, does James Robinson being released, does that, bump anyone out in that Patriot backfield for you guys at all? I mean, he was supposed to be the Devin Harris replacement. Obviously, he is gone now. Poor guy.
Man, how the mighty have fallen, man.
Yeah,
James Robinson, few years ago, RB1. Now he's getting waved in during the offseason. Sad. But no, I think Ramondre Stevenson. I feel like after that, there's no one really else on the team I'm really interested in. There's Pierre Strong. I don't know if there's some Pierre Strong truthers out there, but there's not really no one else in the backfield I care about besides Ramondre.
I'm all for the Stevenson show, but my Pierre Strong share would like him to do a little something.
It definitely brings him a life a little bit. Maybe not a lot, but it definitely went from like, oh, he's just on my taxi squad now for no reason, but definitely helps a little bit. But yeah,
if the Patriots weren't stingy, they could have given Cook a contract.
Is Kevin Harris still on the Patriots? I haven't checked.
He's still there, yes.
He's still there. Okay,
yes.
So maybe it's Kevin Harris. Who knows? Maybe he's
going to be Ty Montgomery catching 50 passes this year.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy.
That's a big issue for him. But yeah, definitely not major news, but it was worth mentioning just so if you have James Robinson, I mean, you could probably cut him on if you're a dynasty team, unless you have a really deep bench. But yeah, it's definitely how the little guy has fallen very mightily. So sucks, but that's okay. We're on to our bigger topic of the day, guys. We're talking last chance players today. And Troy, you get first dibs, obviously, because you are a guest. So tell us who is your first last chance player.
My first guy is the one and only Mr. Unlimited himself, Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson, to me, it's like you said, you already showing he was 19th in passing touchdowns. It's unbelievable to me how I just can't I almost can't put it into words how horrible he was. And I think a lot of it had to do with it was such a huge blockbuster trade. We're like, let Russ cook. This was his opportunity. It's like he's finally away from Seattle. He has an opportunity to shine. So there's some people thinking they could possibly win a division, playoff contenders, and it didn't go anything like that. He looked like one of the worst QBs in the league. He was one of the worst QBs in the league.
Yes.
And it was one of the most shocking things. I don't think anyone could have possibly anticipated it. And it was just like it didn't know the offense. Obviously, him and Nathaniel Hackett didn't work out, and they had to change coaches. It was just a nightmare. And whether you're playing, so if you're playing Superflex, I feel like he's a guy who's going to go extremely late in a redraft league. So that if you need like a second or third QB, you can easily get him. In one QB leagues, he's probably going to be a waiver wire guy or really, really late round guy. So let's say you're punting QB all the way to the end. I feel that with Sean Payton, Russell Wilson could only go up from last year. So I have hope in that. I don't think he's going to be a QB1, but I don't think he's going to finish as poorly as he did last year. Hopefully, he has more weapons that are healthy. I just think the overall team's going to be better. So last year was terrible. He's really, really on thin ice. So if I see him struggling, the first couple weeks of the season or so, I'm going to be done with him.
I can't agree more. I know, Coach Gibbs, you had him as your comeback player last week. But do you agree on the take, last chance for this is Russell Wilson's last opportunity to really take that shot?
Oh, for sure. Like, I'm not going to give him any his leash is definitely short with me. I drafted plenty of Russell Wilson last year and stuck with him a little too long. And sure, I'm going to have that leash shorter this year. But like, everything Troy said, it's definitely correct. But you get him for cheap, so it's not going to be that big of an investment like it was last year.
Yeah, no, definitely. It makes tons of sense. I mean, yes, there's opportunity for him to get back on track to what we kind of saw in Seattle, maybe not to the same level. But again, if Troy said if he starts playing terrible the first 4 weeks of the season and he's outside the top 20 QBs early on, I mean, I can't. How do I trust Russell Wilson again after this? His age, he's got the team around him to do well. He's got the coach at this point. Like, there's no faith at that point. And he actually dropped from 109 to 110 an overall ADP this year so far. So he's already sliding down boards. But definitely a good last chance player in my eyes, Troy. I like that one. So give us your second last chance player.
My second last chance player is Michael Thomas. Man, he was almost my just absolutely done guy. Like let me just tell y'all. Let me take you down memory lane about Michael Thomas. In 2019, he was wide receiver like 1 overall, like the best wide receiver. Phenomenal year. 2020, played 7 games. 2021, didn't play. 2022, played 3 games. So you can see a theme here. Michael Thomas has just disappeared. There's always these rumors about, maybe he's going to come back. We see people stash him on the IR. Like, there's rumors, he's coming back. And then it's a scenario where there's just so much hope. And then there's like drama. He's not happy. He's injured. He's sending out cryptic tweets. It's just a mess. And I thought he would be, I'm surprised he's still a Saint. But you know what? Really, in terms of pass catching, it's just him and Chris Olave. So he's still a New Orleans Saint. So I'm like, if he could possibly play, if he could just stay healthy and he could be on the field, he can put up big numbers. But we just haven't seen it yet. So I'm skeptical. I'm for the most part done with him, but he's going at a reasonable place in draft. Like I said, overall 113. So I'm like, it doesn't hurt to take a shot on him, but my expectations for him are extremely low. But if he can put any semblance of a decent season, then I think he's going to pay dividends. It's just that he's burned you so many times, whether it's through injury or whatever the case may be. But he's just been extremely frustrating to have over these past few years, because again, there's always a little bit of hope, but people think, oh, I got a steal and Michael Thomas, and yet he hasn't done anything. So he's somebody that's it's not good. Probably after week 1, if he doesn't do anything, I might be done with him. So yeah, it's been frustrating having, shares of Michael Thomas for sure.
Oh, of course, and it's definitely a great pick there. Jibs, are you still eating from the poison apple that Troy is eating from?
I've been eating it for 4 years. I'm off the train. I got an orange now. Vitamin C, baby. But yeah, he's been highly disappointing. I thought like after the first 3 weeks of last year, it was going to be a revelation, and then he was on the IR, never coming back, and it's just the story of my life. His ADP keeps dropping every year. It's like 20 spots, but like I'm off the train. I won't do it. Skip him. I have my blinders on.
Yes, I have thrown out my apple way far out of the way with Michael Thomas. I definitely get the last chance on it. I definitely get that if where his ADP is right now, if you want to take a shot on a guy like Michael Thomas, absolutely. I mean, there's a low risk reward on that little list, high reward potentially with that. If he could get back and get healthy, that makes a ton of sense. But the fact that he's missed so much time over the last 3 years, he's already 30 years old. It's just there's no faith in my eyes to really attack Michael Thomas. But again, the ADP makes sense. So I like it, Troy. Definitely another good last chance player there.
That was a great call.
Yes, I like that. I thought about doing that one kind of at one point, but you took it out. I was like, I don't have to go down that road at least, though. Good. All right, Coach Jibs.
It's like only this.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead. You have 3, so you have a lot to talk about here. So tell us your first.
Wow. I was so confused. I guess it's Darnell Mooney looking at the slide.
I said 2, and then you gave me 3, so I put all
3. Oh, I didn't know the article had 2. I guess whatever. Anyway, I had a couple shares of Darnell Mooney last year. As you can see, wide receiver 56 in his overall 133 this year, which isn't that bad. But in drafts last year, he was going around 5, round 6, and a lot of picking them there really tanked your season. This guy, yes, he was plagued by a high ankle sprain after he got off to that slow start with Justin Fields, but he put together some games. But now you got to think about fast forward to 2023. He has DJ Morse, Cole Kmet. The offense is way more crowded. Sure, I expect Justin Fields to ascend, but for Darnell Mooney, I just don't see where the receiving yardage totals will come through, and obviously touchdowns are going to be a thing. So I'm kind of out on Darnell Mooney. If he falls he's pretty much a late round wide receiver right there. I could take my shot on him, but this is the last year for him, and that's all I can say. Because he's been some people have been Darnell Mooney truthers, but he just hasn't really lived up to the price.
Yeah, no, that's definitely another good one. Troy, how do you feel about Mooney as a whole?
Last year I had faith. I mean, I think sometimes, and maybe it's my own fault, but I think that sometimes you look at what a team lacks and you think about the opportunity, right? So it's and I also thought he was a talented wide receiver, but last year was obviously disappointing. Obviously he got hurt. And this year, DJ Moore's the clear-cut wide receiver 1 on the team. We obviously saw Justin Fields and his rushing ability, so we know that he's going to take off and run. I don't know how prolific of a passing offense it's going to be. And you saw the emergence of Cole Kmet. So just Jibs was saying. So I just don't know. And I feel where he's going, it's fine. Again, if you just need a depth piece, but I'm not going to be relying on Darnell Mooney. I think that maybe in best ball, I feel he probably fits that format a little bit more. But in terms of a redraft, he's not a guy I'm going to go out of my way to have on my team. And, they obviously have, Chase Claypool too. They have Chase Claypool, but I think that Chase Claypool, maybe he's going to fight for the wide receiver 2 spot, but I just don't know how valuable that wide receiver 2 spot on the Bears is going to be this year. So don't have a lot of confidence, but I am hopefully he has to bounce back. He's going to bounce back. I think he's going to have a better season, but I'm not overly confident in him.
Yeah, no, I thought this was another good one, obviously. I mean, you're at ADP 133, that's talking around 11, 12 at range there for him still at that point. I wouldn't say that this is the last season for him. If he doesn't do well, I'm like, Mooney's gone. He's not in my favor because he is a free agent after the season. So, if he lands a different team, I might have faith again. But I definitely not going to be actively trying to put this man on my team this season just because it's the quarterback situation. How much can we really trust Justin Fields that he's going to take that next level? Yes, we've seen it done with Allen and Hurts over the last few seasons here now. And it's just natural. Like, Justin Fields, a run mobile quarterback. He's got to improve. He's got the weapon now and DJ Moore. But it's still kind of hard to trust that overall just because DJ Moore should be the wide receiver 1. We don't know who really will be the wide receiver 2. I mean, the Bears did technically give up a first-round pick almost for Chase Claypool. So they did invest into Chase Claypool into that ascent. But, yeah, I mean, Ian, he was a solid wide receiver. He had a couple games last year where he had over 50 yards. He's, kind of a downfield threat a little bit, but isn't someone I'm actively going to go out of my way to get in my team this year. But this isn't the last season for me that I'm going to not trust him. If he ends up in a new situation next year, I might have faith once again. But if he can't do it this year, it might be Justin Fields I can't trust after the season in terms of his wide receivers. So, but yeah, definitely another good one there. Jibs, give us a number 2 player you got there, Jibs.
It is Antonio Gibson. This is from Coach John. Sorry he can't make the show, but I'll speak for him, I guess. And he's come a long way from transitioning as a running back in the NFL. His first 2 seasons, he finished as a fantasy RB1. I think he was 12th in 2020, and he was 13th in PPR formats in 2021. But 2022 season came with mixed results. He drafted Brian Robinson. Obviously, he had a little fallout with the coaching staff, and he was the RB 27 in PPR leagues last year. So, this season, I think Gibson will have to have career high in receptions to at least finish as an RB2 this year, because last year he lost 40% of his rush attempts. He dropped down from 250 plus rush attempts to 149, while Brian Robinson had 202. And then you could see his red zone attempts were pretty split evenly with Brian Robinson. I think he was 52-48 throughout the season, but Brian Robinson actually outstaffed him 14-11 in red zone rush attempts in the last 7 games. And then you also saw the big factor, why Gibson wasn't as good as he was the last 2 years. His touchdown totals just dropped off a cliff. He only had 5 total touchdowns, while the other 2 years he had double digits touchdowns. So there's room to grow with Eric Bieniemy. Hopefully the offense stabilizes. He can find a way for him to get a good reception totals. But those are the conditions, and I'm kind of out on Gibson for this year. But obviously 101 ain't bad for a late round running back as RB3.
Yeah, no, definitely. Troy, how do you feel about Antonio Gibson? I know you like this one.
No, I know. I like this one a lot, and we were talking, before the show about it. And I think that Antonio Gibson, his usage ever since he's come into the league has been so frustrating because he was a wide receiver in college, but you would think that he would have solid passing numbers throughout his career, or he'd be involved in the passing game on a consistent basis, but it just doesn't happen. And I just don't understand why. From the get-go, he just wasn't consistently involved in the passing game. And Jibs already was saying how his numbers just dropped off so significantly last year. And Brian Robinson, if you're just looking at 2 running backs, Antonio Gibson is the more explosive running back. Brian Robinson, I think, does the little things well that coaches like. So he's going to continue to get opportunities. He's more of a plotter. He's going to get you those tough yards. But I think Antonio Gibson is way more explosive, better pass catcher. So where he's going, I don't mind taking a shot on him. But with Eric Bieniemy, I'm really excited for this offense because, again, the Washington Redskins offense has left a lot to be desired. So I think that he can only go up from here. And I think that I'm probably going to have a lot of Antonio Gibson this year, just taking a shot because, again, he's going so late and I want that running back depth. So.
Yeah, no, I like this one a lot because the way I see Antonio Gibson is that for me, it's after this season, if he doesn't show his passing threat ability, I just don't know where he fits in the NFL moving forward as whether it's the backup kind of guy. That's my concern with Antonio Gibson. So if he doesn't prove it this year, and I will take shots on him in this draft, in any redraft draft. I mean, 101 is good value for a running back that has PPR upside. You saw his target share go up every single season. You saw his rushing efficiency kind of fall every year. So that is a concern. But if he gets that J.D. McKissic role that we've seen him having the prior 2 years before this season, we really like that. That was great for obviously PPR league. So if he can get that's a big point. Eric Bieniemy, we saw him with Jerick McKinnon, use him as a passing threat in the backfield, and it worked, obviously. McKinnon was a guy that we loved down the stretch last season. So if Antonio Gibson can show that ability like he was former wide receiver, he's got an opportunity to do very well this coming season here if that offense can get things going with Sam Howell. But yeah, if he doesn't really show that receiving threat to be consistent, I'm not really going to want to touch him after the season. So I like that one there a lot, Jibs. Or John.
Coach John.
Coach John. Jibs, give us your final one. This was your other one, so.
Basically, a kind of similar approach, J.K. Dobbins, but he has the most appeal out of the two people I mentioned. I just worry about his fantasy profile. Obviously, Dobbins has been plagued by injuries his whole career, basically. He's played 23 out of 50 games. And slight issues like hamstrings, ACL, LCL tears. But other than that, due to like the Ravens' offensive schemes the last couple of years, he's just a plotter to me. Like he turns out 5 yards per carry. He's a great runner. He's a great NFL running back. But he ain't doing nothing for me in PPR leagues. Like 15 for 120 is 12 points because he's barely catching the ball. He has 15 catches and for 162 yards in 3 years. Sure, maybe Todd Monken could get this Ravens passing offense modified and get them flourish and let them all loose because I don't see Gus Edwards catching the ball, and Dobbins seems that he can do it if they want to put him in that situation. So I'm not completely out. This is like a last chance for me, and J.K. Dobbins, prove it or lose it, buddy, this year.
Yeah, no, definitely. I have so much hope for him after his rookie year too. It's very upsetting. Troy, how do you feel about J.K.?
I feel the same way. I feel like he's been robbed of injuries. He's extremely talented. I feel like, look, we've seen him be explosive when he first got in the league, and we've seen that capability is just he's been played with injuries. And I think in Tom Monken's offense, it's going to be more pass heavy. So I feel like this is an amazing opportunity, and he's clearly the most talented back on the team. This is his opportunity to shine. I hope to God he stays healthy, but I think that if he can just stay on the field, I think that J.K. Dobbins, where he's going, I think that's solid value. I'm really excited just to see the entire Ravens offense. I'm excited to see with Lamar back, with the pass catchers they have. I think it's going to be very exciting. So I have some faith in J.K. that he's going to bounce back for us.
And for Christ's sake, coming off that injury, coming off from injury last year, he had played 4 games. He had 14 carries for 99 yards. Per game. That was his average. So like, give him a couple more months. Whew.
No, I think he's gonna do his thing.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm also hoping for as well. I'm also agree with you guys here. I don't know if I would not take an opportunity on him next year. Probably not. If he gets injured, I'm just at that point I'm probably done. But I mean, when he's on the field, he's just so efficient. I mean, he even averaged over 5 yards to carry last season in the games that he did play in. I mean, he's a good running back. If he can stay healthy, that's big and key. I don't know if I'm taking him in the top 4 rounds, though. Probably top 5 or 6. That the ADP is a little heavy for me. If we were talking about over and underrated ADP, I probably would have said he was a little overrated in terms of ADP 50 at the moment. But there's a big opportunity for him next year. Obviously, health is a major issue. If he can stay healthy, I mean, you're looking at a guy who probably could see 200 carries. Just know that the PPR upside isn't really there. He's probably going to catch maybe 15 to 20 balls maybe, but the running game, the efficiency at him as a runner is just so big. I mean, we saw it as rookie year, over 6 yards a carry. Last year when he was on the field, over 5. There's just a lot of good things I like about this guy. But yeah, if he gets hurt again and he ruins us at the top 60 pick, I don't know how many people can trust him after the season. So definitely another good one there, Jibs. All right, over to my first last chance player, and it is Rondale Moore. Last season, I wasn't into Rondale Moore too much just because everyone was hyping him up for the first 4 games without DeAndre Hopkins. But obviously now we know that DeAndre Hopkins is not playing 17 games whatsoever or at all for the Arizona Cardinals. So he is moving into that number 2 role, hopefully, for this team here. And to me, this is the last chance. I mean, I hate to say that because he's not going to play with Kyle Murray for half the season. But as a player in the NFL, if it's your time to rise, you have to rise with the situation you have at hand with you at this point. I know it's Colt McCoy or maybe Clayton Tune or something like that, but you have to take advantage of the opportunity you're given in this offense here. And if you see the target share and you don't produce with it or get hurt once again, to me that's going to be a major concern. I mean, when he saw opportunity at times, he looked decent. I mean, nothing that was like wow, stunning or not, but if he got opportunity, you know, he made big plays happen. I mean, there were points in the season last year where we saw 8+ targets and he gets over 60 yards in those games. I mean, he can do work when he's given the opportunity. It's just involved him actually making the most of that opportunity. And now that you don't have DeAndre Hopkins, you have Hollywood Brown, who's also an injury-prone wide receiver. Yes, you're injury-prone as well, but if you can stay healthy, you're looking at a guy who could see over 90 targets this season. And if he can do that and produce with it, that would be great. But again, if he doesn't do anything after this season, I probably won't touch Rondale Moore ever again in my career. And I probably won't touch many wide receivers who are under the 5'9" range in terms of, because they just don't produce. Not many of them can produce. So that's how I feel about Rondale Moore right now. How do you guys feel about Rondale Moore?
To be honest, man, I'm kind of out. I'm kind of out on because it's for all the reasons. It's kind of what you were saying kind of made me more and more out on him because like the first thing you said is Kyler Murray is not going to be there for half the season. So we're relying on Colt McCoy to give this man consistent targets, and maybe if he's playing out of the slot, which we were expecting him to, you know, maybe he's like a little bit of a safety blanket. I don't know if it's going to be him. I don't know if it's like, you know, Trey McBride or whatever, how they're going to play it. But maybe he gets benefits from getting short yardage passes because Colt McCoy is getting harassed. He just needs to dump the ball off or something like that. Maybe if we're just relying on that, then maybe there's a little bit of hope. But I think the only assets I'm really interested in on the Cardinals is James Conner and Hollywood Brown. Outside of that, Rondale Moore, I don't know, man. I just have not excited at all. I hope he surprises me, but I'm kind of out on him.
I respect it. Coach Chips.
I'm out on him too, but it just sucks that he has to get a new coach. His quarterback's done. He has to step up in the offense. Got a lot of things going on over there. So
before you're a vet now, come on.
He's only 5'9". There's a lot of things.
Yeah. But Colt McCoy does like to dump it off, though. You actually James Conner last year, getting like them 12 catch games for no reason.
I respect it. Does the Rondale Moore experiment in the NFL, does that pull you off of shorter wide receivers that they actually can produce? Or is it, you know, that doesn't really matter to you guys at all? How does that feel? Like the shorter wide receivers not producing to that high level?
I mean, it depends on who's shorter, right? Because Tyreek Hill, he's 5'10".
5'10",
he's kind of shorter, but obviously Tyreek Hill is a very unique kind of wide receiver. But I feel like shorter wide receivers can get it done. I just think that you need to be in a specific system that fits. So, you know, the Ravens, they just drafted a shorter receiver. So it's just like, it just depends on how you utilize them. I just think that it's hard for a shorter wide receiver to be an RB1 unless you're a Tyreek Hill. You see the top guys, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, they're bigger guys. So I feel that it's I want to say it's an anomaly for be a wide receiver 1, but it's more difficult if you don't fit a certain profile to give you those elite fantasy numbers.
Yeah. He's 5'7". I think he's 5'7". I think.
Oh yeah, no, he's probably short.
They had the shortest receiving core in the NFL. The Cardinals. Oh, it's so crazy.
They're in the Caleb Williams sweepstake, man. They're going to be the worst team in the league. They're going to be.
They have to take him, right? Like if they come they're the first one.
Why not?
No, you're gonna trade. You're gonna draft Caleb Williams. You're gonna trade Kyler Murray. That's what you're gonna have to do.
Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr. on the same team. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think that's what's going to happen.
Back one, too.
Calling it now.
Love that call.
All right, so let's get over to the final player of the night, guys, here. And for me, it's DeAndre Swift. Pretty easy one for me. Oh, yeah, DeAndre Swift, your boy. I know he's not – I don't have an Eagles uniform in him yet, so sorry about that.
I don't want it really on him.
That's fine. So with DeAndre Swift – you know, he has been obviously a decent PPR guy, finishing no higher than RB15, 21 last year. But for me, it's like I feel like you take him with the upside, you take him early, and I feel like his ADP will rise over the next few months, just in a general sense, because sometimes RBs get pushed up a little bit, and some players fall, whatever the situation may be. But with DeAndre Swift, obviously everyone wants to see the efficiency come back to him that we saw with Miles Sanders in Philly last year, how great he was for us in fantasy. And they're like, well, DeAndre Swift is a more talented back. He can do that. but is he going to see the target share? That's my concern. If he's in Philly, if he's here in Philly for the next couple seasons, does he get it done? And if he gets hurt, I think that's my biggest thing. It's not about his talent overall, whether or not he's going to catch passes or targets, because I think he's on the last year of his contract anyway, so he could be with a new team next year anyway. But it's the injuries for me. If he gets hurt once again and misses time, or they don't use him to the full efficiency, that's 2 NFL teams not using DeAndre Swift as a workhorse back, or to a back that's going to see 15 plus touches every single week. And he didn't see that consistency with the Lions. And if he does that with the Eagles, it doesn't really make me feel confident that a third NFL team's like, yeah, we got to give DeAndre Swift the ball 20 plus times a game. And you're drafting him as a high-end RB2, and you draft him in this top, 60 player. Right now it's 64. To me, that's a concern. And if I want to draft him this season as a top 64 player, and he doesn't pan out to the level that you're drafting him as, to me, I probably won't touch DeAndre Swift again after the season, because I don't see where he ends up being to the level of upside talent that we know we can do, that he's going to produce for us on the field.
Yeah, I think that DeAndre Swift, I don't see him getting 15 plus touches. It's the Eagles understand, they know what his career history is. They know that he's been injured. So I don't see him magically being healthy, maybe to handle a higher workload in Philly. I think he's going to be part of some gross committee with him, Rashad Penny, Boston Scott. I think it's going to be some weird gross thing like that. And then also Kenny Gainwell. Kenny Gainwell is going to be in the mix too. So I think that at most, maybe we see him have 10 touches and maybe not all carries, but I think that the target volume is going to be extremely low. We saw Jalen Hurts last year. He didn't dump off that often to his running backs. So I think that we're going to have to rely on DeAndre Swift breaking off big runs or scoring touchdowns near the goal line, which Jalen Hurts is really good at doing. He's really good at that, but maybe he just hands it off. So we're going to have to rely on touchdowns and him breaking off long runs. So I'm not extremely confident. Yeah, it's a high prolific offense, so we're excited for that. And I just think that if Philly's smart, you don't give him too high of a workload, because Philly is going to go deep in the playoffs. You want to have a Super Bowl run. You're going to want to lean on your running game. You're going to want to save DeAndre Swift for the rest of the season, which means that you're going to limit his touches. So, yeah, that's the way I feel. I'm not super excited. I think that he's going to be good for the Eagles, but not great for fantasy purposes.
Jibs, how do you feel about your man?
Oh man, you said everything I was thinking, Troy. The Eagles are going to treat it like a car wash situation. 2 drives for you, or maybe drive each, and they keep going. I can see everyone getting involved. Like Jalen Hurts does not throw to the running backs whatsoever, so you're going to have to rely on those DeAndre Swift Detroit games where, sure, when he wasn't getting those touches, but he was breaking off like 1 carry or 2 carries for like 20 yards a pop. So the offensive line could do justice for him for Philadelphia, but I do agree with Troy's sentiments that the Eagles are looking at a long picture, not looking at it like we're going to rack up and be the number 1 rushing team in the league. They want to have everyone available for a Super Bowl run. So like I'm totally out on DeAndre Swift. I've been out on him for 2 years after the disappointing seasons, and I'll go get me Kenny Gainwell late in the draft and take my shot there, rather than spend a top 6 round pick on DeAndre Swift for fun.
Yeah, no, I like that way better than taking DeAndre Swift early. But again, if he falls in that 6th round, it's hard to pass up on that potential talent. But man, if I do that and he ends up not performing or doesn't see the field, or he's not on the field, probably won't really go after him after the season. I'll probably be exactly what you guys had. I just don't want to touch DeAndre Swift anymore. So that's how I feel about DeAndre Swift. So
as a fan, I'll say 13 total touches a week, if that.
If he gets 13 total touches, I think he can do a lot with 13 total. I'm thinking 10. I think it's going to be 10 total, but that's my opinion.
Can't wait until he gets just 6 catch, four targets.
He might only get 5 touches.
4 targets in a game. That's going to be great for fantasy.
And he gets 28 till he like falls off the grid. My God. They're running a sweatshop.
It's going to be Trey Sherman at some point starting for this team. So
gross.
Can't wait. I think Penny could get cut, to be honest. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the cut candidate over the summer.
I don't feel like they have enough. They don't have that many bodies. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to get cut. I think he could make the team. He's one of those guys. When he's on the field, he's efficient. Rashad
Oh,
Penny
yeah.
was efficient
good,
in Seattle. So I think that behind that offensive line, they had the best offensive line in the league. So DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny, they can all look like superstars and just be really efficient, and they can put up numbers like that. But I just feel that none of them are just going to get the workload that we want. So it's going to be hard to trust anybody. So
yeah, no, that's definitely
I
true.
love agree that.
Definitely. But that is going to wrap our show tonight up, guys. That was our last chance players here. Great show today, boys. Troy, appreciate you coming on, my friend. Definitely love having you on, talking fantasy with you. Obviously, you know, you're a big Dolphins and Heat fan, so that's even more reason I had to get you on the show. But again, appreciate you coming on. If there's anything you have going on, if you want to mention right now, I'll let you have the floor right now.
of course, guys, thank you so much for inviting me. You know, I always have a great time on this show. You guys can just follow me at T King Mode. I'm basically, T King Mode on every social media platform. I'm with the football guys as well as I'm with Destination Devi. So, when the season starts, you're going to see me doing a lot of things like the mailbag show with football guys. The Destination Devi is me and my friend Laquan Jones. We're going to have a lot of things going on there. So, yeah, just follow our work. Appreciate you guys again having me on. I'm looking forward to the season.
Absolutely.
And go Heat.
Go Heat. Let's go tonight. We're going to Game 6 on Wednesday. Let's do it.
Hope so.
Coach Gibbs, anything you'd like to mention, my friend, before we go?
Well, go Heat.
Go Heat. You're lying. He's lying.
I know he's lying. But and that makes me feel better though.
He's a Knicks fan, so
Go Heat.
he did not like me like a month ago. We weren't friends for a while there.
War.
Yes. But again, thank you all for listening and tuning in on the YouTube channel at Fantasy Coaches, or listening after wherever you listen to your podcast. You can always follow us on Twitter at Coaches Fantasy. You could give us a like over on Instagram at the Fantasy Coaches, or give us a follow there. And of course, we'll be back next Monday once again. Go Raptors. Kyle.
I can't have it.
That was good. But you can always check us out every Monday during the off season here, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back obviously next week talking. We're actually going to dip back in a little dynasty, so we'll look out for that next week, guys. And as always, thanks for listening, and have a good one, guys.